welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and today we're going to read some horror books about motherhood. So if you haven't seen any of my most recent videos, I am with child, and when I found out a couple of months ago, I went book shopping with one of my friends and I ended up picking up a lot of horror books that had to do with like motherhood as a central theme. And so I decided, what a perfect moment to gather up these books, read them, and then gather up my thoughts. So in this video, you are going to see me read The Push by Ashley Audrain, Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, and Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. So I'll send you back to a couple of months ago in the summer when I went book shopping, and we'll take it from here. Hello, so I just got 100 pages into Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, and I wanted to talk to you about it because I am stopping for a bit while I cook supper. But basically this is about a young son and a father who set out on a road trip after the mother/wife has died. They're united in grief and they're traveling to their ancestral home where they're sort of having to confront the like terrifying legacy that the mom has left behind, which is this family called the Order that does sort of like unspeakable truths in order to like gain immortality. That premise alone sounds super interesting. Right now I'm really enjoying the writing style. It's very beautiful, very quaint. It feels more literary fiction than a like genre fiction vibe, if you get what I mean. There's a lot of like metaphorical or more lyrical rather writing style. Nothing particularly crazy has happened, just that we are now seeing that both the father and son have this keen sense of connecting or speaking with the dead. So far the young son is only able to see, but the father is able to like communicate and speak with what seems to be like demons. He's looking to revive his wife and it's not working. The wife, before she passed, also told the father that the son was going to very much be like him. And so the father's sort of worried that the mother's side of the family, which is the Order, is going to use and brutalize their son in order to find this hidden immortality that they're looking for. That's the gist of like what I've read in the first 100 pages. So they're just on this like little road trip. So it's like kind of cute, but kind of menacing, because you're like, this road trip isn't as innocent as it's written to be in a way. But I'm absolutely loving this, really enjoying it. Right now I'm going to take a pause in this and cook supper, and then I will likely continue reading it after supper. Very into it, so I will be definitely focusing on this as my first read of the vlog. Okay, so after listening to what I listened to, I got an email from Spotify telling me that I went over my hours this month, and I realized that my new hours didn't start October 1st. They start October 21st. So in 3 days, I'll have my new hours so I can finish Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, which I'm using Spotify to listen to it. Like, I don't think I can read it without listening to it because it's so like I said, eloquent, and like the writing is so magical that I just feel my brain will like read it slower if I'm reading it physically. And because I want to get this vlog out, that's the issue. So what we're gonna do instead, I have the audiobook from the library for The Push by Ashley Audrain. And this is the one I'm going to focus on, at least for now. So this is about a woman named Blythe who is determined to be a warm and caring mother to her daughter Violet in the brink of these like early days of not sleeping, just being so overwhelmed and emotional. As a new mother, she is not connecting with her daughter as much as she wanted to, and she's sort of convinced that something's wrong with her daughter and not with herself. Obviously her husband's telling her it's all in her head, not to think too much about it. However, then Blythe has a son and she's able to connect with the son right away, so obviously she thinks that something's really wrong with her daughter. I really hope that there's some discussion about this misogynistic way of thinking, that, you know, boys are always better, boys are the better kids. So I hope there's some discussion about like misogyny, how boys are often praised as the like wanted baby. Obviously early motherhood, postpartum depression, those are all interesting topics that I'm really intrigued and loving in horror, hence this vlog. So I think I'm gonna go start this now, and I should be able to finish it quite quickly. It's a thriller, and usually I'm able to listen to those really quick. So I will come at you probably, how many pages is this book? So it's 300 pages, so I'll probably come at you at the first 100 pages. Hello, I'm trying something new because I will be putting finally these bookshelves together. If you don't know, this room has been a complete mess for years, and I never worked on it. We just treated this like a storage room. So I'm finally gonna put these two bookshelves together. They're gonna have my read books. We'll see if everything fits. I don't think so, but we'll just see. However, I did want to check this setup because if I like it, this is how I'm going to be doing my videos. So bear with me for this clip because I can't see anything because of the ring light, and obviously I won't know until I'm editing if I like this or not. So let's do an update for The Push by Ashley Aldrin. Let me go get the book. So right now I'm 30% into the book and I'm really enjoying it. My plan is to finish it today and then continue with Our Share of Night after. This is extremely quick paced, very fast read. I'm enjoying it because there seems to be like two sort of perspectives. There's the perspective of the mother Blythe that we're originally following from the synopsis. She's not getting along with her daughter, and at this point in the book, 30% in, the daughter has more like evil tendencies, bullying tendencies. Seeing that, you know, Blythe was right originally and thinking that there's something wrong with her daughter. Her husband doesn't think there's anything wrong with her. What's their daughter's name? Victoria? Violet. He doesn't think that there's anything wrong with Violet, and he's like a little bit offended that his wife thinks that there is. I can understand wanting to believe your daughter and being conflicted with like not believing your wife. So I get it. Fine. And the second perspective is from her mother's life, and then obviously with the grandmother. So what we're seeing here is really this like generational issue with mothers and daughters, which I think is really interesting and fascinating. And it's like, were these women not able to mother daughters, or were they not able to mother at all? Is there something wrong generationally with them? So I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm going to listen to it while I put these bookshelves away, and I'll probably come back to update you in another third of the book, get the vibe, get the gist, see how I'm doing. Hello, so I've gotten another 30 pages into The Push by Ashley Aldrin, and I'm about to settle down to make soup for supper. I'm gonna cut up some butternut squash. I'm gonna put some pastina, some meatballs. It's going to be really delicious. But I am still really enjoying this book. There was a twist that I wasn't necessarily expecting, and it made me a little bit sad because I could see like where our main character is getting the ideas that she's getting, and like this hatred that she's not hatred, but like fear that turned into hatred of her daughter comes from, and can be easily misconstrued, obviously. And something really tragic happens to our main character after she was just starting to like find herself again as a mother. Something really tragic happens, and she's sort of reverted back to what she was before. Her daughter sort of reverted back to what she was before this enacting event. And it's quite sad to see Blythe go back, and the fear come back of her daughter, this like intense hatred or knowing suspicion of her daughter. I think the last third is going to be absolutely wild based on this. I'm going to continue listening. I think I can potentially finish it tonight, but it is keeping me really engaged. I do really want to know what's happening. I've seen a lot of criticism about the finale of the book, so I'm interested to see like why people feel this way and what's going on. So I will continue listening while I make supper and update you. It's slowly coming together. It's so cute. I'm really happy. And we're going to get into how I felt about The Push. I just finished it last night, right before midnight, and it was really, really interesting. I don't read a lot of thrillers, but I do find this one to be really different from any of the thrillers that I've read previously, because I feel like it's more than just a story about Blythe and her creepy daughter. Like, yes, it could have just been that, and Blythe could have remained this like unreliable narrator, perhaps a narrator who has villainized mental health issues. Like, that's something I've seen a lot in thrillers, but I don't feel like this one really went there. It was very different. It had thrilling aspects, but I do feel like it was more an examination of intergenerational trauma and like how it affected each individual mother. Like I told you guys, there's perspectives from the grandmother, the mother, and then no perspective from her daughter, but we see how these generational effects have affected the relationship between Blythe and her daughter. I think Audreyne did a really great job at like moving in between what's really happening and then what Blythe thinks is happening and this liminal space in between. It really kept me guessing because, like I said, my only experience with thrillers is unreliable narrators, so I wasn't really sure what was going on here. This book though really examines how our lives and our histories are shaped by the women that have come before us and those that surround us. I really enjoyed the addition of this character named Gemma because of that aspect. However, I do think this novel, and I saw this criticism, I knew it was coming, I knew there was something in the last chapter that people didn't enjoy, and I have to say that I'm part of that crew. I think the novel would have been so much stronger without that last chapter. I just really feel like it weakened the discussion that Audreyne was having about motherhood and trauma, and I just wish she left the conclusion to more interpretation. But otherwise, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. This is a thriller that I really, really, really enjoyed, and it really surprised me, and I'm happy I read it. And then just as a quick update, my Spotify minutes have restarted, so I'll get back into Our Share of Night. I haven't read it at all since I told you that the Spotify minutes ran out. So I'm at the same point I was. It's really interesting because I'm still seeing like rave reviews for this book. So I'm very excited to just get back into it again and like really dive into the meat of this book. Hello, please ignore the cap. I'm having like a really bad hair day. Anyways, I wanted to talk about how I'm about 50% or so of the way through Our Share of Night. Still really, really loving this. What I'm loving the most is that it's more a discussion on the intergenerational trauma of both parents onto their son Gaspar. So Gaspar's mom is part of this family that really believes in like the immortality of individuals, and I think from what I understand, they utilize children to further help immortalize them as adults. Like the parents of Rosaria, I think that's her name, it's Rosaria, are part of this cult that like utilize these magics. And the reason that Gaspar's parents were married, so Rosaria and Juan, is because Juan as a child was able to manifest these sort of like cult-like devilish demon summoning, and they refer to him as the medium. So right now Juan is the one with the most power, and what it seems to be is that he's able to summon things and communicate with the dead, and what Juan is worried about is that his son is going to take that. And what I'm starting to understand is that I think Juan and Rosaria's marriage was sort of created in order to create Gaspar, and because Rosaria died, Juan still misses her of course, but because Rosaria died, Juan is more intent on protecting Gaspar from Rosaria's family. So even though there are instances of Gaspar being able to maybe not communicate with the dead necessarily, but able to see the dead, see these ghosts, Juan is very, very, very worried about that and trying to protect his son while also dealing with his own random summonings himself. There are moments where Juan seems to not be himself, and he is what they refer to as the medium. They don't like talking about Juan in this form as Juan. What we're having here is a child that's really struggling with not knowing their mother, who seems to be the catalyst of these more like demonesque sort of things, and Juan, who while being or trying to be a good father, has this other side to him called the medium, who is an evil sort of entity, it appears, who does like hurt Gaspar. So obviously Gaspar is struggling with this dynamic. His only memories of Rosaria are these happy memories, but I feel like there's something sinister underneath her behavior, her reasoning for having a son. So I think that this is going to be a really interesting discussion because we have Juan obviously struggling with being this dual person. Gaspar struggling with not understanding his parents' dynamic, his father, and then this mystery around Rosaria and the family that Rosaria comes from, and therefore Gaspar comes from. So I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, the writing is really beautiful, no complaints here, and the translation that has been done by Megan McDowell obviously adds to this fantasticalness because the prose is very eloquent, very engaging, and I just think that overall this story is very fascinating. So I'm going to continue listening to this, and that was my update for now. So I just wanted to do a quick update because I'm very tired. I had my baby shower yesterday. I'm surrounded by gifts, surrounded by love, very grateful, very thankful, and I'm just so exhausted. So what I decided to do today was really hanker down and try to finish Our Share of Night. It's about 4:30 p.m. and I just got to part 5. We really got through a really interesting part 4, because what we were getting was Rosario's perspective. Throughout this whole next part, I call Gaspar's mother Rosario for some reason. It's Rosaria. Pregnancy brain, leave me alone, please. And her meeting Juan, their relationship growing, what they thought of each other, them creating Gaspar. And then now we can really understand what role Rosario's family had in both controlling Juan and using him to their advantage and using him to give them like eternal life in a way. And like Rosario is very into that. Like she grew up in this family. She was raised to think that what they want to do is correct. So there's this dichotomy within her that I think is really interesting. And from getting her perspective, I think it really added, or we really understand why she is the way that she is, or why Juan and Gaspar are sort of in this problem. We also learned from this chapter that Juan and Rosario creating a child, the darkness is now very happy with Juan, and the medium, the role of the medium, which Juan is, can be transferred into Gaspar. So this is why we have this entire book so far of Juan wanting to sort of escape the order, escape the family that he's been married into in a way, and save Gaspar, and why he's desperate to do so because his time is running out. We know that Juan is sick and they need to hide Gaspar, but Gaspar also loves his family. He loves the people who surround him, maybe not his grandparents, the ones who are actively trying to use him and his father to keep them living forever. It was a really cool part. I really loved it because I think now we're really starting to understand the role of the motherhood within this book, and it's not just about Juan, it's not just about Juan's role, but really how sinister and how evil Rosario's family is. So we have 2 more parts left until we're done the book, and I have about 150 pages left, so I think I could potentially finish this tonight, but I will let you guys know. Hello, so I'm here to update you that I finished Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez last night, and flabbergasted by how much I ended up enjoying this. I gave it a 4.5 stars. This took me probably the longest to read a horror book I think that I've ever read, even more than like Stephen King books, but I cannot overstate how completely impressed I am with this novel as well. Enriquez, along with Megan McDowell in translation, has written probably one of the most beautiful pieces of literature that I've read this year. Not only was it like creepy and grotesque, but it was heartfelt, it was emotional, it was lyrical. I did find the novel's like middle portion to be a bit more difficult to get into, which is why it took me so long to read. And that's more because it was slow, but little did I know what this was building towards. Like that's why it was taking so long. When the pieces slowly start to connect within the last 2 parts of the book, I was shook and I was shaken to my very core. This novel also contains really fantastic characters, whether main or side, and they have really interesting relationships that are a bit difficult to read at times, especially given that the novel is discussing Argentina through like 4 decades and the history of colonialism and political upheaval in the country, which is also affecting our characters in the background and the foreground, all while framing it in this way of searching for like the ability to control demons and time. I cannot recommend this enough, honestly. It will be a long and difficult read for sure, but very worth it. I'm so happy I read this. I'm so happy I gave it a chance. It's so good. I really recommend. And I think if you're going along or wanting to go along with the themes of this novel and the discussions towards like motherhood and whatnot, it's more of an emphasis on the family in all, but really still well done. I absolutely loved it. And the discussions about family, beautiful. And with that, last night I also started Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. So all I know about this book, and the very premise that I want to know, and that's it and that's all, is about a mother who's really struggling with this new postpartum life that she has going on. As time is getting harder and harder, she starts to believe that she is turning into a dog. So I've only read about 22 pages and the writing is very, very weird. I took a clip of what I had just read like before, and yeah, it's very strange. I do think the themes are going to be really, really interesting, and I think I'm going to end up enjoying the writing because it is really reminding me of Mona Awad, and the weirdness is really reminding me of like Bunny and this like stream of consciousness, like why is this main character saying these things type of vibe, which I really, really enjoy. So I think I'm going to like this, and it is pretty short. The writing is pretty fast, so I'm going to jump into it again and we'll see where life takes us. Hello, so I did get to the 50% mark of Night Bitch. It's in the other room and I don't feel like getting up and getting it. A lot of it isn't really anything that you don't expect or know from the synopsis. Like, she does in fact turn into a dog and she is dealing with motherhood. But I think it's the discussions about being a mom and like wanting to work and wanting to be your own person that's really appealing to me in this story. I'm really, really enjoying that aspect. And also obviously the play on the like word bitch. Bitch as in like a label for a woman who does things for herself or gives attitude to men, and obviously the term for a female dog used in both the derogatory sense and not. So our main character, who we just call the mother, is going through obviously these life changes and having trouble adopting it, and then also going through these life changes in a metaphorical physical sense about turning into a dog. The like surrealism of it is very fascinating. I love that it's just so bonkers. I really like books that don't make sense, and this does not make sense. It has no plot and she's just vibing and turning into a dog. Now at the halfway point, I don't know if she's found a community of women who also turn into dogs, so like her pack, or she thinks that they're turning into dogs but they're not really and she's the only one. That's the most like plot heavy thing that has happened. And then also commentary on the fact that her husband doesn't take what she's feeling seriously, or pays attention enough to notice that his wife's turning into a dog. That's a nice little commentary to have, but it's really fascinating and a very fast read. I think I'm probably, maybe not today, but I'm going to finish it very soon and then I'll be able to upload this vlog. So I have less than 100 pages left. Still really, really enjoying it. I like how we've switched from the mother perspective to Night Bitch. So we know that the mother has fully committed herself to this Night Bitch figure. We also have the son acting more like a dog, more like an animal. And I think it's really interesting because her and her son are bonding so much, and the only reason she became this Night Bitch figure is because she felt as though like she was just a body, like she wasn't bonding with her son. So it's been quite interesting having this like more pack mentality occurring, and obviously like the husband is sort of left out of this pack feeling, and that's literally where we're at. I don't even feel like I can really dive into more details of the plot because I just think it's so weird and like almost plotless that I feel like saying anything about the plot at this point would spoil it. I'm really, really, really enjoying it. It really reminds me of like Bunny or like Mona Awad in general, like just this like delirious thought running through this character's brain at all times. I'm going to finish it and then I will come back to you with my final decision. Welcome to the end of the video. Today I finally sat down and read the second half of Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder, which you saw in the day my like midway thoughts. And after sitting on this for a couple of hours, I think I could finally like formulate exactly how I feel about this book. So overall, I absolutely loved the reading experience of this. I think I made that pretty clear in the vlog clips. And like I said, it really reminded me of Mona Awad. It was very Bunny-esque in its weirdness, which is my number one like positive for this book. And even though this is about a mother turning into a dog, I don't think I was fully prepared for how weird this book was going to be. The prose, as mentioned, is very stream of conscious, and we really are just in the mind of this woman as she cycles through being a dog and being a mother. The character of the mother becomes this really complicating character that on the one hand, you completely understand why she's behaving this way, why she's having these thoughts, and on the other hand, like cringing at her experiences and decisions. But I felt a lot of empathy for her, and I think Yoder does a really good job at blending these more like horrific, terrifying moments of motherhood with its more silly and humorous side. For the majority of the book, I really thought that I had found a new favorite. I thought this was a 5-star. I thought this was going to be one of my favorites of 2024 because I was just enamored with how weird it was, and I just really enjoyed being in the head of the mother character. But I have to say I'm a little disappointed with the ending of the book. While yes, I can agree that it gives the mother figure a very cathartic finality that feels needed for everything that she went through and everything that she experienced in this psychosis. I was just really hoping it was going to end on a much weirder note and a much gorier note, to be honest. Speaking of gory, I do just want to give big trigger warnings for Night Bitch. There's a lot of animal cruelty and animal abuse in this and some animal deaths, so just keep that in mind. And so yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Still really enjoyed this. I'm still really impressed that it's a debut. I had a great time reading this. Just that ending was a little bit lacking in what I was expecting from the book. So let's summarize my overall thoughts because I think this was a really successful vlog. I loved everything that I read. We had The Push by Ashley Audrain, a really interesting and engaging thriller that I gave 4 stars. Of course, Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, which I loved, 4.5 stars, a great family saga that I highly recommend. This literary horror is a masterpiece and I can't wait to pick up something else from Mariana Enriquez. And then of course, the final book, Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder, which I gave 4 stars. So all of these were really successful and they gave me exactly what I was hoping they would, which was just a discussion on family, a discussion on motherhood, and the scariness that often comes with creating new life and creating a new family. And that's it. That's all for this vlog. Please let me know down below if you've read any of these books. Did you like them? Did you hate them? Let me know. If you would like to follow me on my reading journey, I always leave a link down below to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram if you would like to follow me there. And of course, because it is the end of the vlog, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. It does wonders for my channel, makes me feel really good. And that's it. I never know how to end these things, so I will see you next time. Okay, bye!